All right, everybody. I decided to use a new streaming client. My broadcaster was acting up really, really bad. So I will be watching the comment section to try to answer your questions best I can. Um, Now, when it comes to writing Hangul, I prefer to, unless I'm just writing regular notes, I prefer to use my fountain pen because it's just the strokes are a lot better, and it's I like it a lot better. So like I said, I am not completely fluent myself, but I have realized that learning things with minimal information is quite easy for me. That's not how it is for everybody though. This like I said, it's not like that for everybody, not by a long shot. Some people actually have to have, someone there, teaching them, answering questions and all that good junk. That's why I'm doing this. To make it so that, people who don't have access to an actual like classroom or a teacher that need that kind of stuff, I'm here to help. I will be doing these on live streams. So, you can ask questions and I can answer them to the best of my ability. So, today we will get started with kind of a background, the importance of honorifics, uh, the actual like Hangul alphabet, if you will, um, and the structure of how they put their words together. That's what we'll be starting with today. I'm not going to start off too hard. Now, like I said, these are self-made lessons. I use phone apps to learn how to do these things. So I just put together self-made lessons that I go over. I just get the information from the app and throw it in a lesson. So let's see. Uh, I have a lot of notes, man. Not that one. Uh, Yada 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 yada. Where's my first intro page, man? Intro page. Yada 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 yada. Okay, well, whatever. But I don't know where my first intro page is, but I pretty much have what's on the first page memorized. Now, when it comes to the Korean language and a lot of other languages such as Japanese and Chinese, um, it's not like how we speak here in America or in English in general. English, you can use "Hey, what's up?" or "Hey, how are you doing?" Use them on a daily basis with all kinds of different people. In Korean, it's not like that. Um, you have what's called honorifics for those who are of high status, such as like a CEO of a company that you're working for, or a potential employer, or someone older than you. You would use honorifics, of course. Um, they're actually very important because if you do not use these honorifics and they need to be used, it's considered very, very rude. So you need to, when you're speaking to a native Korean speaker who, especially if they don't know that you're still learning or you're a native English speaker or whatever, you need to remember to use these honorifics because otherwise you can greatly offend them. Some Koreans aren't that bad about it. Some of them are. It just honestly all depends on who it is. Um, I'll use Cookie for example, Jungkook, Jeon Jungkook from BTS. He doesn't like when people call him Oppa because Oppa is a word that is used for a older male or father. And as you know, Jeon Jungkook is very, very young. So he doesn't like it when people call him that, especially if they're older than him. Makes him uncomfortable. I can understand why, honestly. But like I said, honorifics are very, very important. Um, because you can, not get hired for a job, or you can greatly offend someone by not using them. That's pretty much the gist of what's on the intro page. Um, Next one is Korean word structure. Now, when it comes to their word structure, what they consider what we consider over here a letter is a, you know, sharp or relaxed, a. That's what we consider a letter. Um, each Hangul character represents a sound, and each sound is divided into a three or um, each letter is divided into a 3 or 4 part like collection or um like how do I say it? Okay. This will make it a little bit easier to explain. Okay. So let me open up my ink. My ink. I love my ink. I had to shake it up. I haven't used it in a while. Now, okay. Why aren't you doing? Why aren't you gonna do? What is going you need to do? Okay, thank you. Okay, so when we're working with Hangul, um, these are the most commonly used letter structures. Uh, let's see. The one I'm about to. Well, great. Thank you for dripping everywhere. I appreciate you highly. Um, this letter I'm about to write is Han, Yan. Um, I'll get into I'll get into pronunciation later because, like I said, pronunciation is also actually very, very important. Because when you're using honorifics, one sound in a word or a syllable can take a word from being casual and informal to proper and formal. So pronunciation is very, very, very important. Um, so this is how it's put together. This first one is a 3 part. It's a 3 part letter. Like I said, it's Guan, Con, whatever. Like I said, I'll get into pronunciation a little bit later. Um, and the thing is, it's set up where you have the sounds in 3 different positions. The first one that you start with is called the initial, which means the initial start of the letter sound. Um, like I love, love, love drawing with this thing, but I hate writing with it. I might change my pen tip. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I need to clean this one anyway. It's driving me insane. Um, but like I said, the first one you start out with is called the initial, which is, that the initial is usually in the same spot. So, you don't really have to like search for it. Whenever you put whenever you put the letter together, you don't really have to search for it because it's usually in the exact same spot. It's in the top left, depending on whatever structure the word is put in. So, let me get my smaller one. This will probably work out better anyway. Yep, there we go. Okay, so the initial, it could be a vowel or it could be a consonant. It all depends on what word you're writing. And then the second one, I have to be really careful with this one. This one can break. The second one is it's usually a freaking vowel. It can be a consonant. On very rare occasions, but like I said, it's usually a vowel. Like I said, that's not all the time. That's just, sometimes. These nibs are driving me insane, bruh. I'm having to find one that's actually not gonna aggravate the hell out of me. And like, y'all can ask questions if y'all want to, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. But what I'm doing right now, I hope y'all can read cursive. If not, then I'll, write it again in non-cursive. It's a habit for me to write in cursive. It's always has been ever since I learned it. And the last part of what makes up a letter, the last sound is called the final. Of course, because obviously, it's the final. It's the final sound. And y'all see what I'm talking about with this first one. I love drawing with this thing, but I hate freaking writing with it. Oh my god, it needs to stop. What is wrong with my ink, man? I need to shake up my ink more. And while I'm showing y'all this first regular, common structure, it's like, in every language, like, there are these little loopholes. Every single rule. Every single rule. Like the English one, I before E except after C. Or before A as in neighbor and way. There's an exception to almost every rule. It's like you'll have these one or two little words or letters, what makes together a letter, that are, not what follows the regular format. You gonna act right now? You gonna act right? I'm just gonna have to, like, not use this, because if I do, it'll aggravate me to freaking death. There we go. It's gonna act right now, yeah. And then, okay, this is the first. It's one of the most common. Okay, this is what the first one looks like. It's one of the most common. So you have your initial, which means your initial sound, the very beginning of the letter. And then usually it's a vowel. Like I said, there's exceptions to every word. I have not found one yet, but I ain't gonna lie, there probably is one. And then, of course, the final, which is the final sound that makes up the letter. That is the first most common, build, what I call build, of a Hangul letter. And yes, we're going to be getting to the actual vowels and consonants in this lesson. Okay. And then next is, this one is actually a lot simpler, honestly. Pretty much. You know what? When I'm actually drawing the Hangul, I will be using my fountain pen, but I ain't using it to write words. I'm not using it to write words. Y'all just have to get over that, because these pens are really, really good for drawing. But when it comes to writing words, unless you have like one that's specifically meant for like calligraphy, bruh, aggravates the crap out of me. I can try one more tip, and hopefully, like, this is my usual go-to tip for almost anything, but I didn't want to mess with it, because this is also the hardest one to clean. It's like, after you use a fountain pen, you always have to clean it. You have to clean the nibs, otherwise the ink will dry inside the nib, and it is to get out. And I mean up, bitch, to get out. And, if you're on the live stream and you're watching, just, you can say hi while I'm trying to work with my aggravating freaking fountain pens that I usually use for drawing. And, they behave then. I don't know why they're not behaving now. When it comes to, like, fountain pens, I don't use the ones with the pre-filled ink capsule. I just do not. I don't do it. I use the traditional one with a inkwell, because I like it better that way. Because using an inkwell actually helps you get like better pointed lines and strokes. Which is one reason I like writing Hangul with it. And of course, the second one is the vowel. Hey, yes, thank you, Jesus. And of course, the last one is the final. Like I said, this setup is actually I've seen it's pretty common. This is like the second most common one, if I'm correct. And listen, if you are a native Korean speaker or you are already fluent, and if you have like tips or corrections or something, please tell me. Please tell me, because like I said, these are put together lessons. I honestly think they're pretty good because, like I said, I've been helping people with academic stuff for years, and they said they love the way I explain things. I make it really, really easy. Okay, this is the second one of the second most common put-togethers. Of course, it's the initial is right here, vowel and final. It's all just stacked on top of each other. The other one, the initial and the vowel were side to side, and the final was like, here is the initial, here's the vowel, and here's the final. It's like in the middle, under them. And this one is for a like a longer letter put together. It has four parts. Four parts. It's a little more advanced. Not really advanced, but it's a little more intricate. So we have the initial and the vowel, like we did in the first one. Like the second one, how the initial and the vowel were stacked on top of each other. That's how this one starts out. I said that's how this one starts out. It's with the initial and the vowel stacked on top of each other. Now, this one is if it includes a second vowel. Second vowel, what you do with this one, especially if the vowel is larger, because each Hangul sound, it's like I said, as you know, it's written completely different. Some are bigger than others, and some are more intricate to write than others. This one is if you have a second vowel, it goes. It has pretty much has like its own little space right beside the initial and the first vowel. I'll show you what I mean in a minute. I'm just going to finish this up. And of course, the last one is in the middle of all three of the. It's like not. It's under all three, but it's like in the center. Like you'll see what I mean whenever I get done writing it. I would just show you my notes, but the thing is, I wrote way too small, so you cannot see it. Okay, this is one of the third most commonly used ones. Okay, this initial, this is the first sound in a letter. And then this is the first vowel. This is for a setup if it has two vowels. This is the second vowel. It would pretty much line up right here in between this one and this one. only it will be beside it. And the final goes right here under everything else in the center, so it lines up. All right. Okay, so I'm about to show y'all some examples of some letters. What we would call them over here are syllables, but they call them letters over there. They just have the individual Hangul characters to make each sound, and it goes together to make a letter. Now these are for what I'm about to show you. These are setups for something called complex finals. Now, complex finals are when you have like two consonants that end a letter. Well, never mind. Actually, I'll get to that in the analysis. Screw that. Okay, this is very important. Instead of being written sequentially, like in the order that they go, like the letters of the Latin script, which is, you know, what we use, like Latin, like letters, Latin letters, is what it's talking about. Letters are grouped into blocks, such as Han. I'll actually show y'all what that looks like in a minute so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Each of which represents a syllable. That said, although the syllable Han may look like a single character, it's actually composed of 3 different parts. Now, in Japanese, you have, you know, one character that makes a certain sound, and then it's just like goes along the page. These, they're grouped to make like syllable, word, whatever you want to call it. So I'm about to show y'all what Han looks like. And this is going to be an actual Korean Hangul. Okay? Yeah, I remember how to write that one. Now I'm going to write it quite large so y'all can see. Because like I said, I would just show y'all my notes. But like I wrote them very, very small. So that's why I'm writing them again and also in the fountain pen. Because, you know, it's like thicker and darker. Now, I'm familiar enough with the sounds of each Hangul character to know exactly what part is what part. And I will label it for you. And I'm going to draw the little box so, you know, y'all can see the structure of it. Because the structure is also very important. Because, you know, if you just like try to group it together and someone who natively speaks Korean or speaks Korean at all is trying to read it, they're going to look at you like, what the hell did you just write? Now, this is the letter Han. Okay? This is the character for the H sound. I can't see. I can't see. Crap. This is the character for the H sound. That's why I put an H right there. And this one is very, very common. You'll see it tons and tons of times. This is the ah sound. Because the thing is, even if like you try to label a Hangul character with a sound, sometimes it's pronounced differently if it's in a different part of a word or sentence. And the n sound. Of course, is this one. That one's also very, very, very common. Now, everyone's like, oh, why don't you just teach us to speak it? Well, honestly, in my opinion, if you want to learn the Korean language, you need to learn all of it, not just how to speak it. Because the thing is, if you're speaking it, but you don't know how it's written, you don't know the structure of it at all. So, of course, basics, starting learning how to write it, along with learning some of the basic words. Because, like I said, like, okay, which one is the best example for this? Okay, this one right here. The G can also be pronounced as K, because if a simple consonant is at is the initial, the beginning of a word, you don't use your voice. It's not G. If it's pretty much just an air sound, pretty much an air sound, you don't use your voice. Like I said, pronunciation in this language is very important. Now, back to what I was doing. Yeah, that is uh that's a pretty good example of, seeing the structure of how to make an English letter. Yeah, Korean letter. Okay, this is a very important part. Y'all really need to pay attention to this. According to the way each consonant is pronounced. So I said pronunciation. Korean consonants are categorized into 3 groups: unaspirated, aspirated, and tensed consonants. Take the first row of the chart below, for example. I'll pretty much do one of the rows from the chart and show y'all what I mean. The G unaspirated version, right there. G. Then it's aspirated. With aspiration sounds like K. Like I said, it can be pronounced differently in different areas of a word or sentence. And the tense is the intensified version of G. Like you have G, and then you have K, and then you have G. Like the tensed version, it's very, very sharp. And normally, the tensed version is the kind of pronunciation you would use when using high honorifics. Now, where's my lighter? I have a habit of losing lighters, guys. It is the worst. Now, I know what y'all are thinking. Diane, your skin has cleared up a lot. Yes, it has. I came up with my own skincare regimen, and it works. It works so well. And the thing is, I don't have to pay thousands of dollars to do it. The wonder of being a cosmetologist. Okay, now, the first, I'm going to show y'all the difference in the way it looks and the way it sounds for the G sound, Hangul character. Because like I said, this is actually I have a whole chart of it, but honey, I ain't writing the whole chart. I'm sorry. I'll show you one example, but later on, after the live stream, I'll be working on writing all of this, like all of the charts, all of the examples, all of the Hangul in here, and making it a lot larger so I can you can copy it down if you would like. I make notes of everything. Now, what I'm going to do for this part is I'm going to show you the 3 versions of the Hangul. Now, as you'll be able to see, it is written differently. 2 of them have the same sound, but one is just more like pungent than the other. The tensed version is, but the aspirated sounds quite different. Instead of a G, it sounds like a K. Like Like I said, when you're working with it, sometimes you can't use your voice. You have to use air effects. Now, I've labeled these U, A, and T, which is unaspirated, aspirated, and tensed. Okay? Okay, this one is the unaspirated version. It's just g, 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 g. You know, it's pretty much kind of like an informal, just kind of lazy way of using that Hangul. The aspirated is it sounds more like a K. And the tensed is g, g. You kind of push it out if it's a tensed version of a consonant. You kind of push it out. Use your voice and just like make it really, really sharp, which is why it's called tensed. Okay, now we get into the fun part. Okay. Now we are going to start over single consonants. Now, single consonants are pretty much the bread and butter of the Korean language. Um, they're used a lot. And then there's also something called double consonants, but we'll get into that later. Because double consonants are tensed versions that you would use in a more formal conversation. So, yeah, let's get started. The first one is, of course, the one that we were going over earlier for the example of the unaspirated, aspirated, and tensed. Is the g sound. And I actually came up with, like, I listened to it over and over again, and I came up with, words in English of how you would make the sound, because, age and game use the G in completely different ways. But this one is pronounced like the G in game. That's the Hangul, the single consonant Hangul for the G sound. And like I said, when you do aspirated, sounds more like a K, but like I said, we'll get into that later. The next one is the N sound. Sounds kind of like an N. Oh, I love this nib so much. I love it. This is the N sound. And it's pronounced like the N in name. N. Because the thing is, in Korean language, you have to make it roll. You can't just, you know, unless you're using tensed versions, it just kind of rolls off the tongue. Okay. Next one is the D sound. This is the one I have the most trouble with Because how do I explain it? It's like it's strange to pronounce it whenever you've been pronouncing the d sound duh all your life. This thing is they have different pronunciations for things, even just letters, than what we have here. And it's this is how you draw the duh sound. It's pretty much like a rectangle with no end. Now the next one is one of my favorite ones to draw. It is the L sound. Now, when you're drawing in Hangul, um, it can get kind of intricate because the thing is you're trying to write these things so small. It takes practice. Don't just get aggravated because you can't do it perfectly small just all of a sudden. It takes practice, bruh. It really does. Like I practice almost every single day on my writing. And yes, I will be doing some speed drawings later on. Broke these things out again. I just want to do it. No, no, y'all like, oh, she's gained all the way back. No, I'm on heavy steroids for all my chest problems. So those things actually tend to make me swell a lot. But okay, this is the L sound. That's what it looks like. Kind of a blocky S. No, I labeled this learn with me because like I said, I'm not like completely fluent yet, but the I will be going over the lessons I have mastered with you. So yeah, I'm just trying to help people that, can't learn as easily as I can. Because so there's a lot of different types of learners. Um I'm very good at just, taking the minimal amount of information and learning it for myself. That's actually the best way for me to do it. But not everyone's like that. Okay. This next one is the M sound, as in my. I know it's a crappy Y, don't make fun of me for it. But this is the M sound. Okay. Next one is another one of the complex ones that, has different pronunciations depending on where it is. It has a general pronunciation of B, but, like I said, depending on where it is, um, it'll creep up on you that it's pronounced differently in different parts. Um, Now, if you can't read cursive, please let me know, and I'll rewrite this in like non-cursive. I'll start writing in print. I just have a really bad habit of writing in cursive. Always have. This is the B sound. That's supposed to be a G. B. It's pronounced like the B in bag. B or be. Like I said, a lot of these you're supposed to just roll them off the tongue. So it's not just a strict B sound, it's the. The. Um, so like I said, it's supposed to roll off the tongue. but like I said, pronunciation means a lot. This next one is it's pretty simple. It's actually very common because this sound is a very common thing. And you're gonna look at it and be like, oh, that's a cursive I. It's kind of what it looks like, honestly. Okay. This is the S sound, as in sun. S, S. I know you think it looks like a cursive I. That's honestly what I thought when I first saw it. But yeah. Now this, I haven't really gotten into this next one yet, like why it even exists. But I do know it is a thing. So I will also show it to you. So just in case you want to go off and do your own research, which is honestly what I would do if I had time. But this is what's called a silent. Like I said, I don't know I don't know why it exists. I don't know how it exists. Like I said, I haven't got that deep into it yet. But this, pretty much a sideways zero, is a silent. I don't know. I don't know. Not yet, I don't, but I will. This thing is, I do this at least, I go over my lessons at least 4 to 5 times a day. At least. At least. Okay, now this next one is another one of my favorite things to draw. Now, this one is drawn differently when it comes to the aspirated version, so I will show you both because the aspirated version is also pronounced very differently. So this is the Z sound. Like our Z sound that you make in zoo. Z, um that's what this one is. Well, it sounds like a little bit. Like I said, pronunciate. When it comes to pronunciation, that's something you just have to work on your own. The next lesson will actually be specifically for pronunciation. This one's just kind of to give you an idea to get into, just kind of just a few basic things just to get you started. Just in case you are writing notes like I do, and you want to, just make it, a daily routine to study and go over it. But the thing is, I will also show you the aspirated version. Now, the aspirated version, all you do is add one thing onto the Hangul character. One thing. That's it. One thing. You see, that's why I love fountain pens. That's why I love them so much. Like if you're trying to do um like a really pretty faded line, you can do it. Now that is the Z. That's regular. But this is how you draw it aspirated. Okay? All you do is you add the second line on top of it. That's all you do. Now, with the aspiration, it's not pronounced Z, it's ts. I know it's kind of complicated. It sounds more like the TS and when you say the word cats. Um but yeah, that's the aspirated version. Like I said, some of these characters, when in different situations or in different honorific levels will sound completely different, like z to ts. Like it still has the same basic somewhat sound, but you just work. It just rolls off the tongue a little bit more when it's the aspirated version. Okay, next one. This one's pretty simple, honestly. This one's not that hard. Thing is, some of these Hangul characters love to stay the same when it comes to pronunciation, depending on if you're aspirating it or not. But some like to be aggravating and like change their sounds based on, like I said, where they are in construction of a letter or a syllable or where they are in the sentence. So I'm actually still working on that myself. But this is the k sound. I'm actually just gonna try to start writing in print because I just have a lot of people cannot read cursive. So I'm gonna start writing in print. It's gonna look 10 times worse when I write in print, just letting y'all know. That is the k sound. Pretty much a backwards uppercase F. Only both of these are the same length. Pretty simple. Pretty simple. Okay, what's next? Here it comes. The t sound. Not one of my favorite ones to write. Not because it's intricate, but because when you're trying to fit it into a Hangul letter, you have to write it like really small. And us over here, we used to be able to, layer, like just have, one letter on a line and then another letter following that way. It doesn't work like that with Korean Hangul. Like this one is just whenever it comes to writing it very small, I'm having to practice that a lot. Bruh, I don't see how people do calligraphy. I call this my Tay letter. This is T, and it's pronounced like the T in Thai. I call that my Tay Tay letter. T, Tay Tay. Hey young BTS. Now this one I found it very ironic. Found it very ironic. It's like really funny. Because okay, when you think of the pi symbol, what do you think of? You think of that little, you know, straight line top, like the little squiggly two lines and then the squiggly line on top. Well, this is it's pretty much like the Roman numeral 2. So and it's actually pronounced like the P in pi. So I just I had to laugh. I found that kind of ironic. It was so cool. No, that's what it looks like, and it's pronounced p. P. Like I said, a lot of these things will roll off the tongue instead of like here in English, we like every letter is like completely enunciated, but there is like it rolls off the tongue. It all rolls together. So it does take some work when it comes to learning to interpret and have a conversation. I'm actually still working on that myself, and it's very hard to do because don't really have anyone to practice with because my family thinks oh, you can learn a different language and learn Spanish. I'm not saying anything against Spanish speakers. Like, there's nothing wrong with Spanish, but like, it's just I took four different Spanish classes, three in high school. Like, they were all separate. Like, I tried it 3 times in high school and then once in when I was going to community college. I just couldn't get it. I don't know why. Like, Korean Hangul make more sense to me than trying to learn Spanish. Can't do it. I just cannot do it. Nope. Everyone's like, especially my parents, they're like, oh, you've only been studying for 2 weeks. Nope, it's actually been 3.5 weeks now. But this was when I'd been studying for 2 weeks. They're like, oh, you can't know how to write all that already? Yeah. To me, if my brain is interested, if I find something interesting, my brain will soak it up. Just soak it up, bruh. It will drink it. My brain will drink that information if it finds it interesting. Not just that, it will do it very, very quickly as well. Now, this is another one that, I'm still having to practice writing quite small. Because this one it's not intricate, but it's like when you try to write it very, very, very small, it takes practice. Takes practice, bro. Okay, so this one is the h sound. Like in that example I gave you, the han, that's the h sound. And it's pronounced like the H in home. Like I said, these pronunciations as we go along sometimes will change. They sometimes will change, okay? Now, we're hitting favorites. Double consonants. Double consonants, bruh. I'm going to label this as DC for double consonants, so you know which is which. Okay. Now, the one that we went over in from like the excerpt I put in from that chart for the tensed version of g, that one's in here. It's considered a double consonant. Now, whenever I was looking these up, it gave me the same pronunciations, but I'm not going to say that because, like I said, when it comes to unaspirated, aspirated, and tensed, a lot of the times the pronunciations can change at least a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll just put the double consonant and then I'll put what its single consonant was. The thing is, not all of these have a double consonant. Not all of them do. Some of them do, but not all of them. Thank God. Because when it comes to pronouncing these double consonants, oh my God. Oh my God. It drives me insane. Right, I'm going to clean out these freaking. Oh my God. Why do you like to torment me like this? Okay. I'm just going to write them all down real quick. And the thing is, like I said, some of these will change the way they look. Like the single consonant z, it has a double consonant. And it looks different slightly than the single consonant. It's not just, doubled. It actually looks different. Because a lot of these, it's just pretty much the single consonant drawn twice. Like the g is a single consonant drawn twice. Bro, I ain't getting no damn ink. There we go. That's my problem. I need like a clear inkwell. so I can see when I'm getting to the ink, because I don't want to dip it too far and then waste ink. Because this crap is not cheap. Okay. All right. Now, one of them I'm going to draw. They are not this. They look slightly the same, but they are not the same, and not at all. Not the same in the least. In the least. They have different sounds, represent different things. I don't know why I'm still up. Probably because I'm doing this. But the thing is, after we do the vowels, this lesson's gonna wrap up. Because I don't want to throw too much at people at first, because it can be really confusing. It really can. I don't want to throw too much at y'all at once. Now just finished. These are the double consonants. Like I said, a lot of these are the are just drawn twice. Is the single consonants. But this is the s and this is the z. But of course it's a double consonant, it's ts, ts. It's more done with air effect than anything. I know I didn't write the Z, but whatever. This is the B, is a double consonant. Like I said, you just draw this one twice. And this is the wait, is that the D? No, this one's the D. This one is D, because the thing is I'm looking at it backwards. So, you know, the B and the D just like So this is the D. Of course, it's just drawn twice, just like the G. But these are the double consonants. A lot of the times, from what I've seen, they're used in the formal type of speech. And thing is, I'll actually throw in a little treat for y'all at the end when if like wanting to speak it at least a little bit is killing y'all. I'll throw in a little present for y'all at the end. Um, Actually, this is good for right now. I don't want to throw too much at y'all. I will hopefully be going live, depending on how I feel tomorrow, because I had to go to the ER, and they said if I would have waited even a few more days, without getting my lungs treated, I would have developed pneumonia, which is why I've been MIA for a long time. Because the thing is, I could not speak. Maybe every 1 or 2 hours, I was having an asthma attack. So yeah, but here's the treat for y'all. I'm going to teach y'all the two different types of greetings, or the two different types of honorifics that are commonly used. The first one is, of course, formal. Like I said, you use this with someone older than you, of high status, like a CEO of a company, uh, parents, pretty much just out of respect for that person. Um, this is going to include complete letters going together to make a word. So it'll take me a minute to write because I'm writing it with my freaking fountain pen. Yes, it makes it look really good when I'm writing it with my fountain pen. But oh my gosh, it can get on my nerves because I'm trying to color it in, make it as dark as possible, so you know y'all can see it. The thing is, some of these characters you will recognize some of these consonants because we just went over them. Bruh, right about that life. Okay. And you'll also see the different structures that we just went over of making a Hangul letter or syllable, whatever you want to call it. No, this is born waiting for me to write it. Like I said, it's just like this is the darkest way and the best way I can think about writing it. Because the thing is, whenever I'm writing it smaller, I love using my fountain pen because it makes it look so good. But, trying to write it big like this, whenever, you're not using a fountain pen that has like a pre-filled cartridge and you actually just use a old-fashioned inkwell, you have to keep dipping it. Okay, so this is the proper and formal way of greeting and honorifics. Okay? This is pronounced tonanmal. Tonanmal. And as you can see, some of the sounds we went over are in here. The N sounds right here. This is actually what makes the O sound, like the O sound. D. This is a vowel. And then chonan. Mal. That is the proper honorific formal greeting. And this one, of course, with the informal it's much simpler. It's not as long. Of course, it ends in mal, which is actually very common for greetings, no matter what the honorific. Yes, I'm still trying to memorize how to write these by heart. These are actually very important to know. Like, with how sick I've been the past few days, me having to go to the ER and get 2 breathing treatments and a drip of magnesium sulfate so I don't get freaking pneumonia. It's kind of sucked, man. Like, I've been on antibiotics, but I was just constantly getting worse. Yep. And this one is labeled C and F. Well, UF. Now for this one, I'm actually going to put the pronunciation under the letter. And like I said, some of these you will recognize from what I just went over, the consonant sounds. Now, this one is banmal. Banmal. This is the casual and informal version of a greeting or honorific. Okay? Now, I will give y'all food for thought, you know, to think about until next time. Just a, kind of a, like I said, something to think about. This is actually a note that I made on my own. The app didn't help me with this one because, I know that in a lot of different languages, there are verb conjugations for like past, present, and future, and then there are verb conjugations that's used for honorifics, right? Um, so for this one, it's bear in mind each speech level has its own verb endings. So like I said, casual and informal, and then you have formal and polite. Like, you would talk to your boss that way. In other words, the politeness level is determined by the end of the verb. So whatever verb you use is determined by how you end the conjugation of that verb. In Korean, the symbol in the mal, which makes the M sound, is not a letter in itself. The Hangul are put together to create letters, like I said earlier. It's the sounds, the symbols that make the sounds, and the sounds go together to create a letter. Such as of course, the box one, M, and then the A, which is I'll get to in the next lesson, and then the L, which is the like boxy looking Z. Go together to create the letter mal. The character for the Hangul character for the M sound is not a letter in itself. Mal in its entirety is the letter itself. And I'll also teach y'all how to write the name of the language Hangul in Korean next time. So yeah, I think this was pretty fun. Hopefully it was informative for you. And like I said, if there's any native Korean speakers out there, or anyone who's studied and fluent in Korean, yada 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 yada. If you have any tips or any corrections or whatever, I welcome it, because I don't know everything. I do not know everything. I just thought it would be a good idea to make this series for, lessons that I came up with myself. And, if someone wants to learn to speak a different language, and they're not in high school, or their high school doesn't offer it, or, their college doesn't offer it, or, you have to pay buku freaking amounts of money to even start learning that language or get help learning that language. To me, that's not fair. It's not fair at all, because learning another language is bettering yourself. Because I mean, you want to work at a call center, if you're bilingual or trilingual, whatever, you can speak multiple languages, your pay's going up. And also, if you want to go visit these places, like I want to go visit South Korea, I need to know how to speak Korean. It's bettering yourself. It is bettering, your potential for a higher paying job. Because, like I said, bilingual people usually get higher pay. Um, I'm not doing it for that reason. I'm doing it because I want to. And I actually would love to start traveling. And all the places that I really want to go to, I'm actually in the process of learning, of trying to become fluent in their language. So, yeah. Like I said, I don't like that, you can't just have like a formal teaching class, like, so where someone is actually there answering your questions and explaining this and explaining that, in real shit, without paying buku freaking amounts of money. Because the thing is, some of us are broke. Some of us are broke. We can't afford that. But luckily, like I said, I can learn a lot with a minimal amount of information. So I don't have to have anyone there teaching me. I learn the best on my own. But like I said, not everyone's like that. Um, so I decided to do this series to, try to help those people who, want to learn like Korean. My other languages are Russian, Japanese, Chinese, and Kazakh. It's from Kazakhstan, of course. But like that language just fascinates me. It really does. So I will probably do another Korean lesson live stream. Uh, Probably in a few days. The next couple of days, I'm going to be trying to focus on the Russian and Kazakh. I know not a lot of people learn or know Kazakh. I'm not that far into it yet, so it pretty much will be a learn with me. Learn with me. So, yeah, you guys, I just wanted to create the series to try to help as many people as I can who can't pay buku amounts of money, but also actually need a teacher. So, yeah. Well, love you guys. I'm probably about to head to bed. Um, Look for my upcoming live streams tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do Russian or Kazakh. I'm gonna do one of them. So, yeah. Love y'all. Peace.